This is southern Iraq. Here, north of the Kuwait border, a blazing reminder of the last Gulf War can be seen for miles, polluting the desert sky. As Iraqi soldiers retreated from southern Iraq, they set oil wells ablaze, just as they did in the last Gulf War. At the epicenter of this firestorm, an elite team of Americans is fighting a fierce and fearsome battle. They face not only roaring flames that could melt steel, but also highly explosive gases, booby traps, and landmines. Brigadier General Robert Creer is the U.S. commander in charge of restoring the Iraqi oil fields.
Let's go put out fires, right? Go up, sir.
I do that today. That'd be good.
The general took National Geographic Explorer into the heart of the inferno.
Oil fields are very strategic. The Secretary of Defense decided early on that this is something that had to be safeguarded, certainly had to be repaired in case it was damaged, given what had happened during the previous war.
After the previous war, Desert Storm, there were more than 700 wells roaring into the sky, set on fire by retreating Iraqis, creating hell on earth, seeming to set the entire north of Kuwait ablaze, shutting off the sun for weeks. At the time, firefighters, long used to the worst, could not believe what they saw. Veteran firefighters of Desert Storm, now back here to fight new flames, still talk about what they witnessed more than a decade ago.
You know, imagine 736 of them on fire in a little small condensed area. We didn't see the sun for 2 weeks. I mean, it was just...
Brian Krause is the president of Boots & Coots International Well Control, a Texas-based company hired by the Pentagon that also battled the fires of Desert Storm.
It was just solid black the whole time. It was just absolute ecological nightmare. It got to the point, you know, inside of your nose was black and everything else, and you never knew it was day or night.
There have only been a half a dozen oil wells set afire here so far. While that may be small in comparison, it is in a critical oil reserve, Iraq's Ramallah South field. The oil beneath the sand of both Kuwait and Iraq is important for the future of both countries, especially for the rebuilding and reconstruction of post-war Iraq. Unlike in Desert Storm, today's coalition quickly secured the southern oil fields before the Iraqis could wreak the havoc the general says they planned. The Pentagon wanted to get the fires under control as quickly as possible.
We weren't going to wait until 60 or 90 days after to come in and start fighting fires. We wanted to be able to do that as close up to the war fighters as we possibly could.
But there are still hundreds of oil wells to the north.
The worst case scenario, you could have thousands of oil well fires. And you look at it, most probably could be hundreds.
We're only 10 miles inside of Iraq. There's a lot more to go up ahead. Kirkuk, there's a lot bigger fields, higher pressure fields, poisonous gas fields, all within the country here. We've only started, and let's hope and pray that this is the end of it.
National Geographic has obtained photos of what the coalition could face in the north, booby traps and explosives set by Iraqi forces in the south to set the oil wells ablaze. To stop a well fire, these men must first extinguish the blaze, then stop the gusher of oil that follows. In the last Gulf War, many of the wells had to be extinguished with dynamite.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Once a blaze is out, stopping the geyser is a painstaking, delicate dance of capping the well before it can ignite again.
While it's on fire, there's no surprises. When it's not on fire, and when the gas is just raw gas coming up, then when we're in there working, and there's any possible reignition could obviously be dire straits for people in there. Some of these wells are so flammable that when you put the fire out, just the static electricity of the sand rubbing together in the air can ignite them. So you really got to be careful when you're up there.
But for now, everyone is relieved. It isn't nearly as bad as it was 12 years ago.
I think it's been a success story. Even though you see the flames behind me here, what you don't see is 700 wells, as you saw in Kuwait, in flames. What you don't see is oil pouring down out in the Gulf, as you saw in the Gulf War. What you don't see is millions of gallons of oil in the soils.
So far, it has been a success story. But all eyes are on northern Iraq, where there are still hundreds of more wells that could still be set ablaze. For National Geographic Explorer on assignment, I'm Richard Mackenzie.